Hey guys, it's Looch, and I'm with my friend Sean McPherson. Now, Team Purple Current got a really cool invite yesterday to go out to basically tour privately Paisley Park. Now, Sean, I have to ask because obviously it's been open. It was under sort of a different management, and it was the same people who did Graceland.
Yep.
So now it's the family that's running this. Okay, so what's fundamentally different for someone who's going to go through it as a participant?
I don't know how much this has to do with management, but they keep on becoming more and more music-oriented and creating a lot of visual ways to relate to different eras of his life. So they've had a variation of this, but when you are in the atrium now, you can go into 4 or 5 different rooms that'll be like the controversy room, the Sign of the Times room. The Black Album room is closed. They're still working on it. Maybe they're going to pull the release.
I love it.
But you go into these rooms, you see a little footage of that tour. You often see some instruments from that tour, and then like large overblown parts of reviews of the tour. That was the part that most folks who had really been through before, I'd been there, but not on a full tour. I was like, they're like, this is very different. They're really digging in these rooms into that musical heritage.
I don't want to be a hater, but when it first opened, and I think some people were a little nervous that maybe it was premature, people could sit at his piano and touch his guitar. I just thought, no, this should be, treat this like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously things have changed.
Yes, so there is not some of the like tackiness that started off early is really not there. I never felt there were times where I was trampling on his legacy.
Yeah,
They said, don't sit here, look at this.
Yes.
You can see these pianos. The times where there were things you could touch, it was very like a replica. It wasn't like that. So I did not feel. I saw a lot of folks who had those impressions. This felt very respectful, and then at the times where you were able to sort of stretch out and have a little fun, you felt like you were in an environment where that's what you could have done, even as a show-going part of the world at Paisley Park while Prince was here.
Now, do you think that the people who are conducting the tours are like Prince aficionados?
This dude, we had Josh, and he really was. And if I understand correctly, he relocated to here like 2 years ago, and he even ended most rooms with like a line from a song or a title of a song, and he was like, who's ready to do the work? Let's party up. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this guy knows his stuff.
Yes.
And let's be honest, we're tough customers. I was touring with Andrea Swenson. She has ridden...
Oh, Lord!
And she was like, this guy's getting it right. He really knew stuff. He knew about the publishing deal with Warner Chappell as opposed to with Warner Brothers. So yes, that dude, Josh, I can vouch for him. He knew it inside and out. Okay,
so presumably it will just stay a museum, but it is, as a facility, a recording studio and a soundstage. And I was saying to you earlier that, man, I can't imagine that they couldn't see some prosperity in having those be functioning, maybe, and it's an after-hours kind of thing. But for all intents and purposes, that's not the case.
Yes, I know what a working studio looks like, and these studios definitely they were lit, they were set up to be display pieces.
Staged.
Now, it does seem like it's an ever-evolving thing. In fact, we met with a gentleman named Mitch, who's a big part of the museum, and his whole deal is to try to take stuff that is archival and make it viewable and enjoyable and digestible. So I imagine that actually having it be a working place at some point will start to come into the picture. But I'm a studio musician, I couldn't see how they could do both. Because it's, they were like, and here's, Kirk's drum set that was set up towards the end to do a thing, and let's play you a track from it. I just couldn't see somebody walking in and going, clear it off, we're going to do a synth set.
Right. And now, is there more audio and visual aspects to the museum?
To me, there is an incredible amount of visual stuff, and there was things I had never seen before. You walked into this one room where he was doing a pre-show jam session for fans as well in D.C., and he was just working out a James Brown thing, playing the keyboard, smiling, grabbing the microphone. I had never seen that before, and even when you were just in other spaces, there was always Prince music playing, and so it felt very reverent to Prince, which meant music everywhere. So I saw a lot of visual representation. I never walked into a room that's like, this looks like they haven't finished it.
Right. When are you going to finish? Yeah. And I think what's most important that I still don't know that everyone understands is that this was part of Prince's wishes.
That's right. So Prince gave a lot of instructions to folks in his world. He goes, this place is going to remain longer than me, and I want it to be a place where people can visit. So, and they actually go to great lengths to go, here's a handful of things we've changed. For instance, they had done a bunch of his movies in rooms already in ways that he had planned. So make the Purple Rain room, make the Under the Cherry Moon room. So they were like, so we went ahead and made the Graffiti Bridge room. He did not explicitly say we should, but it stands to reason. We get the first 2 films, let's get the third as well. So they were like caring to say they have to evolve. They are going to make some decisions that Prince himself didn't make, and they're kind of now being explicit about what those are.
And just finally, because I like to think about stuff like this, the big whole thing was, he didn't leave a written will. Well, do you remember shortly after Aretha Franklin passed away, someone found it under a sofa cushion?
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're going to find something like somebody's going to just be through the tour and go, what's this? And it's going to be in I feel like he stuck it in a guitar. This is an acoustic guitar, you mark my words, that's where it'll be found. But if Aretha can just, put it under a cushion,
yeah,
I don't know.
You can't sit on the couches anymore.
No.
And all of them looked like places where you couldn't hide a Skittle. They were so well upholstered. So I couldn't see a will passing into any of those. I get the feeling like Prince was not confronting his own mortality at the time. And it's tragic, but yeah, I don't think there's anything. I don't think it's sitting under a capo behind the Honer or anything.
Well, one can dream. Anyway, so this is very cool. So the new, I guess improved, you could say, Paisley Park is open for tours, and it's Sean approved. And what are tickets? Do you even know?
I don't, and I will say, whatever they cost, spring for the VIP, because you got to see some really cool things, and it was worth it.
Cool.